thing that will stop a revival, one of the mindsets that will stop a revival in a person and in a community is unforgiveness. Unforgiveness will stop, okay? If you don't want to have a revival in your life, don't forgive, okay? And the reason that we don't want to forgive, here's the 5 reasons, and this is the first one of those reasons. The first reason we don't forgive is because it would require us to admit that we're wrong. And if we admit that we're wrong, then obviously we'll have to be punished. So we don't want to admit that we're wrong because something bad's going to happen if we do. Okay? Number 2. A person will not forgive because they want justice. And their spiritual arrogance has blinded them to the fact that they themselves have failed God and others. This is what you get for me spending time with the Lord. This is the result. So please forgive me. Are the revival stopping? All right. So point number 2 again. Because we want justice, our arrogance blinds us to the fact that we have failed God and others. A person won't forgive when they think that they've never been wrong. Or if they think they're better in an area than somebody else is. Does that make sense? Like, what is wrong with you? I'm not going to forgive you for that. You should know better. Well, there are things in our lives that we should know better about too. That, just saying. Number 3. The reason we don't forgive is that we need to be justified for our actions. I'm going to treat you like crap because the reason I can treat you like crap because I'm justified to treat you like crap because of what you did was so wrong. But see, forgiveness does not hold people to their crap. Forgiveness releases them. And we don't want them released because we want justice. You did something wrong, so you deserve this. That's why I'm not going to forgive you. That makes sense? So let me word it this way that I did. So I just want to bring this. When I read that, it makes sense to me. You may have to word it a way that makes sense to you. But when I don't forgive, it's because I need to be justified for how I'm feeling. I have to be justified. I'm not. See, if you do me wrong, then I'm going to stay miserable because you deserve me to be miserable because you did me wrong. That will stop a revival. That will stop a lot of things. I just want intimacy. So I think I'll stop it by not forgiving you. Wife of my youth. As an example. You may not have a wife, especially if you're a girl. Number 4. The reason you don't forgive is you think that you have to trust the person that you're forgiving. The reason you won't forgive is, well, if I forgive them, man, I have to let them into that place again to hurt me again. No, you don't. When you forgive somebody, you release them of it, but it doesn't mean they have to earn that place of trust back into your life. Is that right? When I say earn, I mean, listen, forgiveness restores us as though we had never fallen, but God is never about setting yourself up for more abuse. There's a thing called healthy boundaries. And healthy boundaries expand as trust increases. Okay? If somebody hurts my kids, I will forgive them, release them of that thing, but I will not let them into a place where they can hurt my kids again until they've earned that place of trust. Yeah? Somebody steals $5 off my table, I'm certainly not going to put 50 there. Okay? Is that right? But I will forgive them, I'll release, and I will not hold them stealing that $5. That when you forgive, it's done. You don't bring it back up and say, well, I'm not trusting you because you did this back then. Okay? Right? Forgiveness cuts it off. When he forgives us, he throws it in the sea of forgetfulness. That's what forgiveness does. You throw it in the sea. I'm not going to bring that up again. You can't hold somebody accountable to something you've forgiven them of. Okay? Otherwise, we're in a lot of trouble from him. Because he's not going to forgive us if we don't forgive others. Devin? Okay, here's how that works. You set up a healthy boundary so that within the boundary, you're still making yourself vulnerable, but you're making yourself vulnerable to a limit. Now, here's what happens is if they're faithful with that boundary, then you increase the boundary. And then when they're faithful with that boundary, you increase the boundary. Trust is this, a consistent behavior over an extended period of time. So time is required in building that trust back up, and their behavior will reveal. See, their behavior removed the trust, right? But forgiveness is not dependent upon their behavior because we're looking at their identity. However, trust is dependent upon behavior. Why? Because of the fact that you raise a person up back into their identity. You accountability, boundaries, you raise them back up into their identity, but you don't put yourself in a position of an unhealthy relationship within that identity until they've come into their full identity. Just like when we're saved, right? We're completely saved, but our flesh and our soul have to come into alignment with what has happened in our spirit man. And that just takes time. That's a process. But forgiveness is not a process. Forgiveness is a decision. Okay? Did that make sense? Okay. What's that? That was a great question. Point number 5, the reason we don't forgive is we are convinced that our feelings are our convictions. We're convinced that our feelings are our convictions. Major difference between feelings and convictions. Convictions is something you would die for. All right? Feelings are something that is of an emotional response. Convictions are something that we would die for. We are convinced that our feelings actually are our convictions. In other words, if I feel this way, it must be the truth. I'm convinced that this is the truth. Instead of living by our convictions, we live by our feelings. Does that make sense? And the reason we don't forgive people is because I still feel this way. So because I still feel this way, I can't act on my convictions, I act on my feelings. I don't feel like forgiving you. Well, you got to move beyond your feelings and move to what is one of your core values. I forgive because I've been forgiven. So you have to act on your convictions, not on your feelings. And forgiveness frees you up. We've learned that. But forgiveness frees that other person up too. Remember Bill Vanderbush was talking about the fact of where the wife went home, looked into her husband's eyes until she saw Jesus. Wow. What a moment that is. And she got freed, and he got freed. Yeah? Okay. So those are 5. Now the other attribute, the other thing that will stop a revival. So unforgiveness will stop a revival. But so is the inability to solve conflict. If we do not learn how to deal with conflict healthy-wise, let me give you something that Bill Johnson said to me via a DVD. You ever have a DVD speak to you personally? Like, oh my God, did you hear what he just said? Now, when I say my God, I actually mean my God. Like that's not a slang. Like, oh my God, did you hear what he just said? And one of the things when I saw that was the fact of, like, in this culture that we're developing, a culture of honor actually has more conflict than a culture of dictatorship. See, because people know how to act and how to react under law. They don't know how to live in freedom. And conflict resolution is a major thing. See, because people don't know how to handle freedom. And when they start feeling free, all of a sudden there are a lot of things that reveal a heart. And when the heart starts getting revealed, now you got situations that you got to be able to learn how to deal with conflict in an honorable way. Because free people are harder to lead than enslaved people. I went, crap, why do I want this, man? Let's just stay under the law, man. I can work 9 to 5 that way. Here's a few things. And I kind of like, there's supposed to be 5, but I really don't. It's kind of like I only got 4, but within it there's 5. So I don't know where that other, it's kind of like reading the Message Bible. You don't know where it starts and ends. It's like they don't have the numbers there. So just kind of follow through. There are 5 reasons there. I'm going to start with the first one. So in conflict, the goal of conversation is to prove, the reason that you can't settle conflict is you do this. The goal of your conversation is to prove that you're right. I want to talk to you. We need to talk. We need to talk about this. But see, most people only want to talk about stuff because they want to prove that they're right. Your goal can't be that. The goal of the conversation has to be to resolve conflict. Rick and I have this little thing that we say, I don't have to be right as long as I'm righteous. And people hate that. When you go to them, listen, you go ahead, you be right. My wife, she could just punch me in the face when I say that to her. Honey, I don't need to be right. You go ahead and be right. I'm just going to be on righteous ground. My little Lamborghini. I put this as a sub-point within this point. I kind of do a little indent. And what I told myself within this is that justice can never be the goal over relationship. You know, I'm going to tell you that relationship requires that injustices are there. Jesus modeled it perfectly when sometimes he didn't say anything, and when he's hanging on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them before they ask for it, because they just don't know what they're doing. A person that wants to have a relationship will allow injustices to be there. A person who wants to just be right and wants them to pay, I want justice. They will always sacrifice relationship for justice. That was my little sub-point. That's what you get from me spending time with the Lord. Okay, point number 2. This is just something, this is just an hors d'oeuvre of what I'm going to give you today. But I figure since we're revivalists, we probably ought to have some of these tools when we run in these. Point number 2, the reason that you can't resolve conflict is because you're determined that you know the other person's motive. I know why you did this. I know what you really mean by when you say that. I know what's really going on in your head. You can't fool me. See, somebody can come to you and say, man, I'm really sorry. No, you're not. Man, will you forgive me? You know what? You're just manipulating me. You're just controlling me. See, a person who wants to actually resolve the conflict won't already prejudge why the person's coming to them. You write that down however you want to. My little sub-point within that is this. Your discernment sucks. That's what I wrote down. Ready? Your discernment sucks. You can put however you want. When you're angry or bitter. You can't discern rightly about somebody else when you're holding them from a place of anger or you have them from a place of bitterness. Does that make sense? Your discernment isn't accurate. Whenever you're angry, whenever you're hurt, whenever you're frustrated, whenever you're bitter, well, I'm just discerning that. Dude, you're not discerning anything because it ain't working right now. Right? Discernment has to be from a place of peace, a place of rest, from a perspective that's heavenly. Typically, we react from a place of anger, from a place of bitterness, or from a place of resentment. I wrote a little sub-point that our discernment in those conditions are anointed by the wrong spirit, not the Holy Spirit. Okay. This is point number 3 or 4. I don't know which one. The reason that conflict is not resolved is because you're angry and you want to punish that person. Watch this. Then you wonder why they don't want to tell you the truth anymore. Because every time they do, you punch them in the face. Man, I just shared my heart with you and you just beat me up. Beat me up, Scotty. Beat me up, Scotty. Right? You don't want, who wants to come talk to the pastor if when they walk in, who wants to come and talk to a husband or a wife when you walk in, you bare your soul, you tell the truth, man, I just made a real mistake. See, you know why people are still in bondage to sin is because they can't confess their sins one way. I can't confess my sins, man. Why? Because somebody's going to use it against me. That's the most difficult place of being in leadership in any capacity is, see, in my home, I can tell Ariel all kinds of stuff, and I know I'll be forgiven. That's just the truth. Levi the same way. Nathan, Lauren, Calista, I'm still working on. But why? It's a relational thing. I have to treat her a little bit differently than I do my other children, even though I've taken her as my own. I have to actually love her more than I do my own. The adopted always has to be loved more than Jesus, when he said, man, the adopted have a greater place than the original intent of Israel. Why? Because the original intent, they were my kid. They were my kids, and I've engrafted you in, and it requires a greater grace, a greater love, a greater mercy to the adopted, the engrafted in one. Does that make sense? Still in point number 3 or 4. And I guess this could be point number 4. The reason that you can't solve conflict is because you want to tell them the truth. You want to share your heart. You want to get something off of your chest, but it's not done from a place of their benefit. It's done from a place of your benefit. Okay? I made this little note. If honesty is costly, it will be hard to be forthright. If honesty is costly, in other words, for a person to come to you and share their heart, if it costs them too much every time they do it, they're not coming forward. I can't talk to you, man. I can't be honest with you. You ever hear those comments? Can't tell you anything, because every time I tell you something, you hold it against me for months. You'll never forget that sucker. Number 5, the reason the conflict doesn't get resolved is because you always bring up the past after you have forgiven them. I wrote this little thing in my bullet point. No more files, please. Let's not open the file cabinet anymore. Leave that sucker closed. Okay, so there was your little 10-minute thing. Now let me do the 20-minute deal. And I don't know what you guys want me to do. I did something with the girls about the third day that we're in right now. There's about 50 different things in the Bible about third day. And it was a pretty fun day that Judy and Brenda and I and Helen was there. The 3 of us had a pretty fun time with this third day deal. Now we can do that. We can talk about the process that we are in as a culture here. I got about 3 months worth of stuff that I can share with you in the next 20 minutes, but we probably won't get it all done. So what would be your preference? Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 I guess that. Yeah. I mean, that's not, I mean, first of all, it's not, I mean, I'm not putting down feelings. What I'm saying is that we are emotional, soulish, and we're supposed to be healthy. As your soul prospers, let the rest of you prosper. You know what I mean? It's like really, it's important that our flesh, and some people don't like this either. I want my flesh to prosper. I want my flesh to come into line of being led by my spirit in such a way that it prospers. I want my flesh to cry out, oh God, I love you. I mean, didn't David have that situation? My flesh cried out. You know, my heart and my flesh cry out to you, the living God. I didn't talk my spirit cried out. It says my flesh. I want my flesh to come into its design purpose, okay? And the thing is the difficulty and the challenge is both. What it is that our feelings cannot take the place of leadership in our life. Our feelings have to be an emotional response to the one who has taken leadership in our life. See, it's like the reason that what she's talking about is she fell in love with Jesus. You better have feelings if you fall in love with somebody, including Jesus. There better be an emotional response. That's not just, oh, it's just not that way. Well, you're a liar, because everybody has emotions. Now, how that comes out may be different from each one of us here. Some of us laugh, some of us cry, some of us fall down, but there's an emotional, because you're an emotional being. You have emotions. Your mind, will, and your emotions, your soul is 1/3 of the makeup of who you are. Everybody has emotions. And to say that we shut down our feelings is heresy. Jesus didn't shut down his feelings. He was moved with compassion. He would cry great drops of blood. He would get angry in moments. And the deal is having your emotions, but not being led by your emotions. Let your emotions be a response, and it can be a heavenly response. It should be a heavenly response to that which you love the most. But I will tell you that what a lot of people do is they will use their feelings to dictate their actions towards him and others. That's what I'm saying. With like everything else, let every thought be taken captive, right? What? Unto Christ. So our emotions, our body, our flesh is unto Christ. Our soul, our will, our thoughts unto Christ. Our decisions, everything's unto Christ. But it doesn't mean that they don't exist or that they're shut down. They're just directed in a way that is healthy and whole, godly and holy. Does that make sense? Yeah. The other way around. Good, that's good. I got 15 minutes. One more question, then we got to move. Well, it can, but feelings can also be. I mean, I don't know about you, man, but if I'm in love with my wife, I got to have some feelings. Well, and if my feelings move into a place where I cause injury, where I grieve the Holy Spirit, where I injure my children, where I injure my wife, where I injure other people. Yesterday, and you guys don't know this, but yesterday I could have allowed my feelings and my emotions to take me in a direction in how I preached yesterday that would not have been healthy for our people. And I don't have to go into detail as to what caused that, but I had 2 days of enough stuff that would have caused me to react by feelings. I could have reacted and then spoken a word out of my feelings that was not the heart of God. So you have to take everything and make it subject to Christ. I mean, you just have to do that. You know, my wife couldn't come to church in the morning, and she will tell you it's because of her emotional or her feeling response that she couldn't. But in the process while I'm here, she's texting me and she's breaking through an emotional response or a feeling response, a reaction that she broke through. Now, I'm not saying I'm more spiritual than her, but there's something resolved in me. I am not going to allow my thoughts, my hurt, my pain, somebody's words toward me, conflict. I'm not going to allow. Who said this just the other day? I've made up my mind. There's this like, I've made up my mind that when these things come, I've already got a set course of action of a response that is based on my core values, not based upon my feelings. So what I'd like to just propose to you is that, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of times your actions will dictate what feelings come behind it. Feelings caught up with my core values after I acted on my core values. Does that make sense? You know? Well, it must be we're supposed to stay here, so I'm just going to close my thing. Let's go ahead and just start taking questions. Go ahead. Bill. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my discernment and my feelings are tied together. My barometer, I'm just using me as an example, everybody has a different thing. There's some people that joy breaks out when the presence of the Lord is there. That's their emotional response, their feelings to the presence of the Lord. Some people like Allie laugh. You know, I mean, she just gets, and there's other things she does too, but that's one of those things. Dance, you know, so there's feelings that will allow you to feelings. But feelings will allow you to. It's a barometer that allows you to evaluate the atmosphere that you're in. So, how many know that you can tell your feelings will dictate? Your feelings will not dictate. Your feelings will reveal to you when you're in a depressive atmosphere. Your feelings will dictate when you're in an oppressive atmosphere, a sad, a grieving. I mean, your feelings are a great barometer of that. But here's the deal: is that we have to move back to Jesus always went back to, Father, not my will, but your will be done. I'm feeling like I don't want to go to the cross right now. okay? But my feelings are not going to stop me from my God-ordained destiny, right? So, and again, that comes from learning the voice of the Lord. The voice of the Lord always has got to trump what our feelings are. When our feelings are in alignment with the voice of the Lord, go for it, baby. Like our response, like that's amazing. You know, does that make sense, Phil? Everybody tracking? Is that making sense? Jerry? We are. I'm going to conclude with that whole deal. Yeah. I figured 5 minutes would be enough because if everybody doesn't love it, they, don't 12:30 either way. Dude, my message on Sunday, I told you 10 minutes, and an hour and a half later we were done. So I had 2 pages of notes. I'm thinking I'm just going to breeze through. I'm just going to hit it. It's Christmas time. Let's get people out of here, and that didn't happen. It was like, yeah, and it was 1:45 for the next. And I had made adjustments for the second service, so I didn't do it, and it's still stupid. This is going to be 5 minutes. Okay, so if everybody's done with those questions, I'll move right in. Did you have anything about that? All right, so here's the deal. As leadership and as a staff and Jerry as a voice of representation for the GTU students, he's represented you well. He's a good-looking guy, isn't he? He's cute. Everybody's got to have a Jerry. Everybody's got to have an Uncle Jerry in their life. So, and this got sparked. No, not sparked. This got confirmed with Bill Vanderbush being here. Okay, for me, and that's when I brought it to the staff to begin dialogue. We didn't want to present it to you guys until we came to a place of unity and agreement of the Spirit, to offer this. But here's what we feel like we're in phase 2. Maybe next time I talk, I think this week I get you guys again. I've asked Sean for a little more time with y'all, especially since I'm having more time with him. I feel like he'll be more of his heart with what I'm sharing with you than just opinions. But in this second phase of what we're in. The second phase is the hallway phase. It is the place where you're moving to a door that's opened in the third year or the third phase, third day in the Bible. We're moving into that third day of actually 2014 will be the year we actually experience the crossover. Now, we've been crossing over this whole year, but we get the benefits of the crossover in the third year. So this is a piece of what those benefits are. Okay, we all have discussed and feel good about 2 things, maybe 3 things that I'm going to share with you this morning, based upon your responses, not your reactions, but your responses to what the first year and now this second year has been for us. Okay, so a lot of it is derived from that in confirmation of things that we've been hearing from the Lord. So this is what we're moving in. Okay. While Bill Vanderbush was here, there were like 7 different people that approached me that want to come to GTU in January. Okay. There's more than that came to me that would love to do it in a taste and see type of exposure. What I mean by that is like a small group type of. Many of you have been requesting or enjoying more of what we have in-house in live presentation, trying to balance it out so there's a little more live presentation, less DVD presentation, okay? Because we've though we're modeling something after Bethel, we are not supposed to be a duplicate of Bethel. God has something very, very unique and special for this region that Bethel has paved the road for and pioneered something, as has IHOP, as has Morning Star, and a lot of these amazing ministries have opened up some things. But the Lord wants to do something very specific in this house to us and through us. That Bethel will look at us and say, wow, what's going on there? That's not pride. It's just the fact of, there's a church at Corinth. There was a church at Ephesus. There's a church at Philadelphia. There's a church that did specific things in the regions that they were in, and we're not in Redding, California. In Redding, California, they start their School of Supernatural Ministry at 12:30. Why? Because it's California. Yo, man, I just can't. I can't get up at 12:30. I'm hitting the beach at 8. Whatever. It's just different cultures. We have here in New York, man. If we could do GTU at 6 a.m., right, Penny? We just do it. Let's get her done and get on to it's just different mindset, All right. And within this whole deal, so that's one piece of it is the live presentation. How can we accomplish that with who we have, and how can we increase that? That was one of our considerations. The second consideration was time and money. And the reason time and money are being a consideration is not for the sake of that there's not a cost. I will tell you this right now. Everybody that has ever been in GTU has been paying a cost. The beautiful thing about what I'm finding about people, we talked about it last night, everybody here is willing. There's a willingness, not only a willingness, but a desire. Like when we took the summer off this last year, you know how many revivalists, how many people said, man, I wish we wouldn't have taken the summer off. It was just like, man, why? Because we missed what was being developed in community with each other and the time with him in presencing. Okay? Because it becomes a normal part, right, of your life. A normal part of it. It becomes your life. It's just your life. And that's what we're trying to do is develop a lifestyle of what GTU is representing in 4 hours a day. We want to develop that lifestyle. But we have been feeling and on a large level that we're supposed to take this to many more churches than just our own, okay? And we've been looking at ways to do that. And when Bill Vanderbush was here, and George and Banoff, how they do it down in Harrisburg, when I looked at both of them, it confirmed what I was feeling in my spirit to do anyways. I had asked Sean to look at GTU and see, hey, how could we break this down into a small group type of format idea? How could you do it? The difficulty is how do you maintain a revivalist, all-in type of culture in a small group type of format? And and that's a question that I guess we'll watch as it unfolds. But here's our plan as of now, okay? Because the reason for our plan, again, is for more people coming in, more building a larger community, higher impact outside of our church, and changing more of the culture inside of our church. See, when Bill Vanderbush was here, not many of you were rocked by him. When Jamie Galloway was here, not many of you were rocked by him. When Bart comes, not many of you are rocked by him. When I say rocked in a good way, but not like, well, I'm offended. But in this church culture and in other church cultures, I mean, can you imagine any of three of these guys going down to Horseheads Wesleyan or over to the Free Methodist Church or over to a Baptist church or over to a CMA church? I mean, they would, right? I mean, literally, heresy. There'd be a witch burning. We'd have the whole deal going on. I mean, I'm right. Am I right? That's the type of. But God is asking us to invite, and this is where I'll try not to get, choked up. But He's inviting us to change a culture. He's inviting us to change the leadership in these different places. And I want to invite pastors here. I want to invite men. Leaders, women from other places. I want to empower. I want to set women free, from being slaves. Children free from being slaves. There's a culture shift that wants to happen in our culture, and I believe that the third year is going to demonstrate that. And here's the crazy thing. I thought the third year was going to begin in September. God's inviting us to have the third year begin in January. This coming January, the third year to begin in January, and this is what it's going to look like. There's a number 3 going on, and I don't know why the number 3 is it, but, it's, somebody who knows numbers would probably be able to tell me. But here's what we're going to do is we are going to open up GTU to this level. Okay, first of all, it's this. Full-time tuition. Well, let me back up. We're going to a tri-semester basis starting in January. So what you just completed was a single semester out of 3. What we're going to do is this. The schedule will look going forward September, October, November, December off. January, February, March, freeze. Following with the threes. January, February, March, April off. May, June, July, August off. Now, within that, my suggestion is going to be that within it, you don't attend more than 2, unless you don't want to miss it. Why? I'm going to do the same thing with our Connect groups. There's something about a stressing and a releasing, a stressing and a releasing that causes growth. Now, it's just like exercising your muscles. You can't keep stressing that muscle. Now, for most of you that are revivalists, what it will do is the demand, I guess the demand will be on the heart. So what it will be is if you know, and this is kind of Jerry gave me the look, a tri-semester is what we're going, I believe that within it is built the stress and the relief. 3 months on, 1 month off. 3 months on, 1 month off. 3 months on, 1 month off. During the 3 months, you'll be able to have less of a load in the respect 2 ways, of your time, of your money, and so that you can actually digest what you're eating. So you're not pushing through it, but you can actually marinate in it. Does that make sense? Okay. And the other issue that we had was a lot of people were like, man, we don't want to, because when we got done in May, we were off most of May, June, July, August, and part of September. It was almost a 3.5, 4 month, and it was very difficult to go from one lifestyle back to the old Egypt lifestyle, back to your revivalist lifestyle. It's just weird. And what we're trying to do is build in a lifestyle of this. I know, I just heard Chris Valton talk to his students before they left for Thanksgiving, and he gave a hard message because he said, you're going to go away on Thanksgiving, you're going to have the ability to fall. Just given a couple weeks off, you're going to have the ability to fall. So it allows us during that month to breathe, to serve, to build relationships, to take some time off, to catch up on our reading, catch up on our assignments, financially, whatever we have to do. Now, so that's one piece of it, okay? The other piece is that what we want to do is we want to make it, instead of $2,100 or $2,200, whatever it is a semester, we want to make it $1,000, which cuts that in half. Okay, so during the course of the year, instead of your tuition being $4,200 for the year, it'll be $3,000 for the year, but it will be in $1,000 increments. I don't know why. First of all, the decrease is good, but I think that when somebody understands their first semester that I got to come up with $1,000 rather than $2,200, it's a lot easier pill to swallow. It's like buying a car for $999 rather than instead of $1,000. The schedule, here's the 3 schedules we've talked about: the 8 to 12:30, the 1 to 5:30, and the 5:30 to 10. We're looking at all 3 of those possibilities. And beyond that, I'm going to give you this. Within the tri-semester, we're going to allow for people to be part-time, and part-time will look like this. I'm going to give you an example. A Sunday night will be for everybody, whether you're part-time or full-time. And then part-time would be 1 night a week, Monday night, a Tuesday night, or a Wednesday night. And you can do that all semester long for $500. Okay? The second piece will be $750, which means you do 2 nights a week, Monday and a Tuesday plus a Sunday. Full-time will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Sunday. So it's $250 for every segment that you do, and you do it all year long. And so because of the fact that it seems like the fishermen, it seems like God is calling a lot of people that aren't the kings and the priests as far as economy goes. There's a lot of ones that would love to be here that can't be here, and the limitation is the funding. So it's an immediate effect for the students here of $1,200 a year off of it. But going forward, we're going to design some healthy plans that it won't let anybody get behind in that 3 months' time. So it basically whittles down to $333 a month. Okay, there's the threes again. I don't know how it's working all out that way, but $333 a month, and so that's obviously a reduction from what it was. But it seems like an easier hill to climb rather than a harder hill to climb. That makes sense. And what does it do? Well, it opens up Bill Vanderbush said that when he went to this type of schedule, that he went from having, he actually didn't have as many students as we have. After 5 years, he didn't have as many students as we have. But when he went to this schedule, they went to 200 students that were a part of it. And now you're not going to interact with all of them except for on Sundays. But Sundays will become an amazing, we're going to design it so Sundays become an amazing community, welcoming. You're going to, from different other cultures, other churches, they'll be here. Impartation is going to be a huge part of what we do on Sunday nights. And the fact of his presence, obviously is that. So we want to present it to you for consideration and all that. That's where we're at. I'd like to get your feedback on it through your revival groups and that kind of stuff. But just for general, how many like the idea of going this way just by a show of hands? 1, 2, 3. So you guys, how do you guys, just give me feelings, like, just real quick. Did you, and, yeah, here's the deal. Remember what I said earlier, is that the build of it is such a way that it's going to be designed in such a way that taking one off. Remember, did I say that? I did say that, right? It's designed with a built-in stress relief already, but having that extra one is like actually really okay. Does that make sense? So you don't, two out of the three, whichever two, yeah. So just keep that in mind, because the purpose of it is not to overwhelm people. The purpose of it, not overwhelm people with the stuff. We only have so much time, but I want to overwhelm people with his presence. And I feel like as they start moving into that, for all those people that will taste and see, they'll come and taste and see. See, some people come and taste and see for $500 and one night a week, but they will not come to taste and see for $2,100 and 4 nights a week. And Bill just said, listen, Jesus knew how to deal with the people's practical needs before he took them into the deeper things. And there's some that won't. They'll come and they'll be content. A person going part-time, it'll take them 3 years to do what somebody does it in 1 year, full-time. But you know what? At least they made the trip. Well, here's what's going to happen it's all going to be a scheduling thing. It might be that whatever day you pick you have to stay in that day for the semester. You know what I mean? Sean had come up with some ideas just in brief, talking about the fact of rotating the schedule so that they'd be able to, if they stayed on Mondays, and that's the only night they could have, that they could do it, their whole term could be done on Monday nights. But another thought was Monday night would be 1/3 of the year, Tuesday night would be 2/3 of the year, the second third of the year, and Wednesday nights would be the third part of the year, so that they'd move through it during the week from Monday to Tuesday, or not through the week, but through their course of their journey. Yeah, but it really wouldn't affect you guys who are full-time, except for the fact that it will be cheaper for full-time people. I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, 1 night a week commitment. I mean, that's really what I'm saying, is that because a person like Sunday nights. Really, honestly, everyone in our church should be coming on Sunday nights for what it is. But a small group typically happens 1 night during the week. So I'm saying that it would allow people, hey, let GTU be your small group experience, and here's the cost to do that. Yeah, it'd be a 12-week small group. That's what it would be for three. And then if you want to ramp up again, do the next session, after a month. Because we're going to begin actual small groups in January as well that will have that same format. They're going to be tri-semester small groups, and they're going to last for 8 to 12 weeks, and then you're going to shift into something else to keep people growing. Like maybe they need to learn some prophetic stuff. Maybe they need to learn some apostolic stuff. Maybe they need to learn some healing or inner healing stuff. And move them through so we can grow people up that in a year they're ready to move into a place of leadership, in the house, in the church. because the Lord's kind of wants us to impact about 5,000 people, and we got to raise up some leaders to do that. Yeah, yeah. Any more questions? Yes. Yeah, well, what it would be is you'll have so much curriculum that has to be accomplished, but you'll be doing it at your pace. And yeah, readings obviously in that while you're off, be catching up on your readings, stuff. Anybody else? Jerry, thank you for staying 9 minutes past your committed time. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. You don't have a chance to talk about it. Great point.
And also much stuff, and because I am old,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the question is this, but before I answer that, can I just answer a question here? Because we didn't bring this up, and I didn't hear what you asked, but I have a thought. For those of you who are students that, you really wanted to finish your first year by May, we'll figure something. You're not going to be unfairly dealt with because of your stronger commitment to, does that make sense? So if it's something like you want to stay on track to finish your first year this year, that's going to be held against you. Does that make sense? But now what we'll have to do is you're going to have 1 month less of school time, right? That what we're talking about. But Sean and I and the gang, we really talked about the fact of in building the academic structure, that what we're doing right now, we can still finish this semester on course and on time. But if you stay in it, you'll get more. So we had to cut out stuff from what for our second year students. They will tell you there was a lot more material that they covered in their first year than what we're covering in these first year students. So we'll still be able to finish your first year curriculum by. Yes, go. In Jesus' name. Does that make sense? So your certificate and your completion, if you decide not to take the third semester, you're not going to be hindered from that. We'll work that out. That the schedule that Sean has, we'll finish that schedule this semester. Okay. Well, that answers that. And then the great question, and I didn't know you guys haven't had any feedback. That's why I need to be in here. But Barry's the man, so I like the bald-headed guys. I yield to those bald-headed guys. So, I'm almost done, Paulie, and give me 10 minutes ago, and I'll be done. Jesus, help me. Gift of gab. The question is, within the course of what you guys are doing, you'd like to be able to actually have questions answered after you see something. Discussion time in here. Okay. I didn't know that you guys weren't getting that during the day. I thought you were. Okay, let's do it. What's that? We had discussions last year. Huh. Mm-hmm. You're not doing that in your small groups and your revival groups, either one? I wish Jerry was in here. We'll make sure that gets fixed. Two things. Discussion time. Well, one thing, but it's two separate issues. Discussion of feedback with regards to what you're seeing DVD-wise and what you're reading. That's an easy fix. You can just consider that done. Because that's actually supposed to be normal protocol. I would like you guys to encourage you as a student body that when there's something that's lacking, whoever the live person that is coming up, whether it's Karen, whether it's Sean, whether it's Jillian, whether it's myself, whether it's Barry, whether it's Kelly, whether it's Brent, Ben and Tam, whoever, Sean, did I say Sean? Yeah, bring it. Say it. Hey, man, we've blown through a semester, and I'm hearing it now. Thank you. But let's fix things, earlier. Yeah. Mike around, what'd you get out of it? What are your questions? Yeah, that's. No, it is, and that's why I'm surprised to hear that's not going. That should be a normal course of action, and especially at daytime. I mean, we're all here. We're here, so first of all, sorry. Let's fix that, because that is, I've walked in and thrown things at him because he's sleeping, but I haven't, Besides that, I haven't noticed that wasn't happening, because with Barry speaking, I know I've watched him in action and how he okay, what'd you get out of that? What'd you get? I mean, I've watched, so he's been speaking during the days as well, right? Hasn't he been speaking? Okay. Yeah. I wonder why did that, who took that place? Oh, the AMTs? So that's with Karen or Will or whoever's teaching AMT during the day, Ben and Tam? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, then we need to have that time. I'm gonna, if we set up an actual, could you guys do this? This week we'll pilot this, see how it goes, because I'm speaking again, I think, on Wednesday. Okay? Put your questions together from the whole semester. Okay? And I'm going to take my talk time. Put your questions that will come up. If you can remember them, and again, I apologize. It's nicer when it's fresh. But let's try it in frozen style. Okay? Instead of fresh pizza, let's have some frozen pizza. But the ingredients will still be there. Let's just try to go from memory, maybe in your Bible where you had notes, or on your notepads or in your notebooks. Write some of those things down. And what we'll do is we'll rapid fire them from each one of you. We'll just go around and just keep on Wednesday when I'm here. My time on Wednesday will be from 11 till 12:30 is my time. So I have an hour and a half, and I won't preach and give you more stuff. But I'll preach in the stuff. I'll talk in the stuff that you're asking. If I don't know, I won't fool you. I'll say, man, I just don't know. Let's get an answer, But at least it will be, in a place that we can begin to deal with some of those things. So, because dialogue is a major part of discipleship. Dialogue, yeah, it really is. Gotta. She knows. Trust me. So, okay. Any questions for this segment, anyways? All right. Father, man, thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for teaching us. Thank you for developing us, growing us. We thank you that we have an atmosphere that we can actually not be driven by law and not be driven by principles, but we're driven from those principles and that doctrine into a place of relationship propelled towards you. And I'm grateful, Father, that you are willing to sit down and take the time with us and let us reason together your heart. I thank you that you're awakening your sons and your daughters in here. They're amazing. I love what's happening to the atmosphere because of these ones who have been willing to pay a price. And Father, I just pray blessing and favor and more over them, God. More of you, so much of a way that we're undone, not because of what we're gaining academically, but because of what we're gaining relationally, because of an academic experience, God. Praise you and I thank you. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, you all.